if we catch it, what are we going to catch exactly is really what I was talking about. So what I was explaining was that I believe that, and when I feel this kind of energy, I get really psyched up about it, because this is the one thing that has been a very experiential reality. And according to the doc, for an example, the only way you can know something is by being it. So I have been this experiential reality of seeing these patterns, which comes down to a belief, because what you believe tends to determine what you see in your reality and what your reality is. So in the past, I didn't really have one, and I believe in letting go of beliefs, but I've had to come to some terms with what it is that I think I see. So I have the belief that has formed now, which is that what it is that even when these patterns that you can see right now are very obvious, it is an illusion. It is not real. And the reason why I feel that way is because being sober for a very long time now, I have seen that every experience, no matter what it is, passes, and the only trace of it is in memory. But what I'm talking about isn't memory, it's an experiential, almost conscious memory of what it feels like to feel like you're tuned in to something. So what I will say, just to recap what I was telling you about before, is that because of my experience, I feel like, number one, mental illness is only real in terms of the doctors who prescribe, and they can't be in the state of the person who is mentally ill. So they cannot verify its validity as an actual state of being. Therefore, it's unreal.
What do you think of this? A lot of those docs in the past, and probably some now, and then many test subjects, have intentionally exposed themselves to psychotomimetics. That is, medications that would result in pseudopsychosis. LSD is one. Pacarolo is THC is another. Magic mushrooms. All those essentially are psychotomimetics to one extent or another. Some more mild than the others. So, in order to try to experience that and figure out what their patients are going through, they go through it themselves to some extent. Now, I don't know ever how genuine or how thoroughly bogus it is. I would think that day by day, facing what someone calls what is called psychosis would be far different than just doing that on occasion using drug inducement, I would think. But look, what do you think of this thought? What you're talking about is it's a variation of what actors have been doing for many years. They call it sensory recall, wherein you don't just remember the accoutrements, the real obvious symptoms of some state of mind you've been in, but you actually go through yourself. That is, you just meld with the previous experience without the assistance of the psychotomimetics, no Pacarolo, nothing like that. But instead, you master it to the extent that you wind up getting the great benefit, the experience of it, but just as an adoption, as opposed to being forced into it by any kind of like medication or any kind of drug or any kind of psychotomimetic. What do you think of that? It seems to me you're right on the verge of that you could experience that. You can remember the incidents, that you can experience it, and then come in and out according to your will, and then have the best of both worlds.
When we remember something, we're having we're going into the well of illusion, and we're actually experiencing things that other people have told us, and we're experiencing our own mentalization as something that was subjective. Because every experience, even the recollection of memory, but every experience at all times is subjective. So you can't remember a subjective experience in the same way as it was to have that experience while you're having it. It was subjective. So after having gone through that experience that I had, to remember it now, when I talk to people about it, I say, yeah, a few years ago I was crazy. That's just what I'm telling myself now, because society has told me that. So the reason why I believe that mental illness is totally a fallacy is because when I was having that experience, there was no feeling like it was an illness. It was completely 100% legitimate, that it was an experience that was tuned into something that I can be tuned into now, because I guess it's a part of me, but that maybe I just behaved in ways that were not acceptable, and so then there goes the label. That's why I don't like the current system dealing with people who are mentally ill, because what it does, it obviously, and we all know that, and once they're labeled, they have a hard time getting out. So I'm happy that I'm in psychology. Having these thoughts about it now are giving me drive and impetus to get that master's. And what I want to do, and of course there's the book that I'm writing, I'm working in Safeway, but I also want to continue developing this, because this is something that I'm 100% concurrent with. And so I can address what should be done instead of what is being done.
You can do it from the inside, and if you pursue your those aspirations you're mentioning.
I just don't want people who are mentally ill, or who have gone through some kind of been labeled as mentally ill, to keep telling themselves cognitively that what happened to them was that they were crazy, or they went through a period of time where they're crazy. Because I can see how when you come out of the subjectivity, you can believe something that's not true. While it's happening, that's not the truth of it at all. So if we can understand mental illness, we have to understand the subjectivity of it as the experience that the world calls mentally ill is happening to the person who it's happening to, because to them, they're not mentally ill, they're experiencing something which is of total reality. And because all truth is subjective, there's no way to say that that's mental illness. So I'm writing the book, and I'm going to go back to school, and I want to have some kind of there are all kinds of things I want to try that are really unorthodox and probably not really accepted, but to hold some kind of degree would give me more credence to try those things, like getting people together who are mentally ill, getting them all together and seeing if they can discover an underlying pattern that they all share that is the crux of what is their mental illness. Because really it's consciousness, and it's finding a pattern that they can all see together collectively and letting it evolve into something. Which is why, and I was talking about marijuana before as being a window to that, which I really believe. But because of course the rules and regulations that we have right now, we aren't able to express ourselves, so there's no way to find that pattern and find that unifying pattern that will make everyone go in that moment, oh my God, we're seeing God right now. This is God. We're able to see it, and we're able to use our words and our conscience to see the verbals, the nonverbals, the subliminals, everything, see, hear everything, and understand that this is not us doing this. This is a design that an architect has made, that we are living through this pattern into this experience, and there we are. And that's how we're going to move forward from here into the future.